Good morning. Welcome to today's knee-jerk devotional for May 6th, 2021. Daily spiritual insight for the short attention span. Our passage this morning is Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 39. It goes like this. They sailed on to the country of the Gerasenes, directly opposite Galilee. As he stepped out onto the land, a madman from town met him. He was a victim of demons. He hadn't worn clothes for a long time, nor lived at home. He lived in the cemetery. When he saw Jesus, he screamed, fell before him, and bellowed, "What business do you have messing with me? You're Jesus, Son of the High God. But don't give me a hard time." The man said this because Jesus had started to order the unclean spirit out of him. Time after time, the demon threw the man into convulsions. He had been placed under constant guard and tied with chains and shackles, but crazed and driven wild by the demon, he would shatter the bonds. Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "Mob. My name is Mob," he said, because many demons afflicted him, and they begged Jesus desperately not to order them to the bottomless pit. A large herd of pigs was browsing and rooting on a nearby hill. The demons begged Jesus to order them into the pigs. He gave the order. It was even worse for the pigs than for the man. Crazed, they stampeded over a cliff into the lake and drowned. Those tending the pigs, scared to death, bolted and told their story in town and country. People went out to see what had happened. They came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demons had been sent, sitting there at Jesus' feet, wearing decent clothes and making sense. It was a holy moment, and for a short time they were more reverent than curious. Then those who had seen it happen told how the demoniac had been saved. Later, a great many people from the Gerasene countryside got together and asked Jesus to leave. Too much change, too fast. And they were scared. So Jesus got back in the boat and set off. The man whom he had delivered from the demons asked to go with him, but he sent him back, saying, "Go home and tell everything God did in you." So he went back and preached all over town everything that Jesus had done. So, one of the things that I've been pretty intentional about over the last couple of years is trying to read and hear voices from outside my tribe. This has been so helpful to expand my thinking and help me ask different questions as I come to the scriptures. I remember in seminary, I took a class on missions, and the professor had served in a country on the continent of Africa. He had been teaching pastors there about practical theology, and at the end of the course, his students were frustrated about the content of the class. He asked why. They responded with wanting to know why issues regarding polygamy, black magic, and exorcisms were not covered in the class. You see, the professor was teaching from his perspective and answering questions that his students were not asking. In future sections of the course, he adjusted what he taught for his context. Recently, I was listening to a podcast with a woman who is disabled and is doing work in the area of theology. As a result, she comes to the scripture with a different lens than I do as someone who is able-bodied. In that interview, she talked about how we need to consider the healing actions of Jesus as redemptive acts of bringing the person back into the community as a fully participating member. As I listened to her talk about this, it was one of those record scratch moments where I was left dumbfounded by not realizing this sooner. Reading this passage this morning, it struck me at how blatantly obvious the redemptive work of Jesus here is, bringing the man back into community. He was exiled and imprisoned in the cemetery. After Jesus drove out the demons, he was in his right mind and clothed. He desperately wanted to go with Jesus. What was Jesus' response? Go back to your town and let everyone know what God has done. Jesus intentionally sent him back to his community. You see, redemption is reconciliation. The work that Jesus is doing is bringing people back into community with one another. Sure, body, mind, and soul are healed, but practically speaking, the healing ministry of Jesus allowed people to return to being participating members of the community. The barriers were removed and the way opened. So this has me thinking, How can we participate in doing the same? How can we be agents of healing in the world by removing barriers from the participation of those around us? What kinds of steps can we take to invite others in? I'm wrestling with this. What about you? I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas in the comments. So make sure you comment below with some of your thoughts about how we could do this. What might it look like in our day and age? Till tomorrow. Love well, my friends.